Hi everybody, so this week I've been trying to make some more videos about the Canon M50 and particularly the EF-M 22mm prime or compact lens. And I've spent a bit more time taking some stills and doing a small project which was to film a bike, which I'm looking to put onto eBay, but I took some stills with the camera for that, and then I made a short video just for a bit of fun while I had the camera out, just of the actual bike. And I've also been out taking some stills outside, and I've tried some new techniques with the camera which I've not really done before, so it's been a really good opportunity to kind of look at different things you can do with a camera, because I'm not really a photographer, I'm not really a videographer. I've just got some gear and I'm trying to make some videos and trying to learn a bit more about it. And that's what this year is about for me, really, is to be a bit more progressive, progress further with my knowledge about taking pictures, how to make videos, how to make films, and just generally understand the gear a bit better this year. So this week, just attaching the one lens, I've got some other lenses and that's for another day, but just attaching the EF-M 22mm lens and making that, no pun intended, the prime lens for the week for photography, for video, and I'm actually using that now. So I normally use the kit lens to do the video stuff that I put up onto YouTube, but I'm just in the spirit of using the one lens for the week, I'm actually using the EF-M 22mm for today as well. So it'd be quite interesting to see how that comes out. On the small screen on the right there, it seems to look okay. So again, part of my challenge this year is to be a bit more intentional about learning how to get the most from the gear that I've got. And I was quite intentional in researching how to take different types of picture, and to do that I jumped onto Flickr, where there's a couple of user groups for the Canon M50 and for the Canon EF-M 22mm, and you can see the types of pictures that people take. And what's really great about it is they show you the shutter speed that they used and the ISO and also the aperture as well. I spent a bit of time looking at that and thought, well, what type of pictures could I take this week to add something to the video? So I decided to take a harbour shot because I'm fairly close to the sea where I live. I decided to take a landscape shot of a nature reserve and a sunset. And then in addition to that, I decided to try a kind of, I'm not even sure what it's called, where you do a long exposure but capture the lights of a car as well. I'd always wanted to do that and never really done it, so I thought I'd put some time aside to do that. And then also I'm using the actual pancake lens, the Canon EF-M 22mm, to do this video with. And I would normally use the, I guess, probably the kit lens, because that's just what I've used before. But I've never, although I brought the pancake lens, I never really got around to using it. So that's what this week is about, trying to be a bit more intentional and just to see what I can actually get out of the camera with my, I guess, rudimentary skills. In particular then, I decided to take this harbour shot, and one of the things that I'd got for Christmas was some screw-on filters. Now I know they're not as good as the ones you slide in and all that sort of thing, but I'm just a kind of amateur, a guy that bumbles along trying to make some pictures and videos and that kind of thing. So they're relatively cheap, but I wanted to make sure that I use those. So I wanted to do one of the type of shots where you can actually make the sea smoother by having a longer exposure, and this is a shot that I took, and I'm really quite pleased with it because it's nicely in focus and it has sort of made the sea a little bit smoother. And so this is all using, again, the Canon EF-M 22mm. What I'm really pleased about this is I spent a bit of time this week trying to understand what the best settings would be for this lens, and that's something I've not really done with lenses before. I've screwed the lens on you know, for something that's close or maybe a telephoto or something like that, but what I discovered is that lenses really have a bit of a sweet spot, and for this lens, the EF-M 22mm from Canon, it's, for me, I think it's quite marginal. From the articles that I read, the reviewers seemed a bit sort of on the fence about saying where the actual sweet spot was. But in a test that I did, and here's a couple of pictures that I took down at the airfield, you can see sort of the difference, that I had different apertures and that kind of thing, trying to find the sweet spot. And I think for me, it's probably about 7.1 and 8, somewhere around that, seemed to be the most accurate or the sharpest picture that I could get with the lens. So again, so the reason for doing that and trying to discover that was because I'd taken some kind of landscape pictures in the past, and they weren't necessarily as crisp at the foreground or the mid ground or the full distance, so some work needed to be done. So if looking, this is a picture that I took of a local nature reserve, and I'm quite pleased with this because it's mostly in focus, and it was a result of some of the research that I'd done during the week. And then using some filters, mostly I think I used an ND4. Just thinking back about the other picture with the harbour, I stacked a couple of filters, an ND4 and an ND8, to get the picture that I got. And then I took this one, which is of a sunset, which I'm quite pleased with. I think that's come out quite well. And then lastly, I did the effect with the car lights going past on a long exposure as well. So this is just me, the first time I've ever done this, and it's okay, but I'm just throwing that in there just to show that I've been trying to use the lens to do different things. I think this week's been really interesting because I've actually bothered to try and learn a bit more about the lens, and I think the two things that I probably learned this week that have made the biggest difference was understanding the sweet spot of the lens. And I'm now fairly confident that when I go out to do particularly either a landscape shot or a shot where there's a group of people, I need to get everybody in focus and pretty much most of the scene around them, how to do that. And it might sound silly, but I've not really, I've just been using auto, I'll be honest, and now I'm trying to dig a bit deeper and progress a bit further with understanding the lens. So I think those two things about the sweet spot of the lens and what aperture will work best for those things. And the other thing that's been really exciting was to try some different types of photography, such as the long exposures in the harbour, just to make the sea look a bit different, and then also to do the kind of shots where the lights of the cars go past. So I found that really interesting and really enjoyed doing that. So this is not really a review of the lens, it's just me doing some things with the lens, and hopefully you found that reasonably interesting. And then of course the actual video that I'm making now is actually shot on the EF-M 22mm. So yeah, hopefully that was interesting. So thanks for watching, and next week maybe another lens, who knows.